In a sense, we now find ourselves in China in a situation where the field is wide open, where there is no dominant religious institution, and there is no dominant ideology about religion. And so traditions are returning of all shapes and stripes, religious ideas from abroad, secularist traditions from China and from abroad, and all mixtures and combinations thereof exist and are flourishing, and increasingly so. And so in that sense, the question of religion in China is a wide open one. And so in this book, my good friend and colleague Vincent Gossard, who is a historian of modern China, and I, who am an anthropologist, together we joined forces to really kind of to draw a comprehensive picture of how the discourse on religion and the related social changes, reforms, campaigns, and cultural issues have unfolded themselves over the course of the long 20th century, from 1898 until 2008. And we've tried to do this in a way that transcends some of the limitations of studies which have existed before, which really focused on one single political regime, such as the Kuomintang regime prior to 1949, or the communist regime, or Taiwan, or Hong Kong. So or one religious tradition or another. But what we've decided to do is to take an approach in which we would really look at the evolution of religion as a question, as an issue, as a concept around which there has been no consensus as to its meaning or its implications, and how this debate, how this question has unfolded itself throughout the 20th century in different Chinese political entities, and as it has affected all of the different religious traditions in China. And just to complete my introduction then of the book, we have identified, so what is the religious question in China? And in fact, this idea of the religious question, the 宗教问题, which is commonly used in China, perhaps could be understood in 5 ways. One is which is really the European Enlightenment question about religion. Right. So as humanity enters a phase of scientific rationality, so what does the role of religion become? How do you liberate people from obsolete doctrines and superstitions and so on? And so this is a question which was introduced to China in the late 19th century and early 20th century. So this Enlightenment question of religion enters the field. But then the second question arises, which is that the categories, the concepts, the definitions of the religious, the secular, science, superstition, all of these different concepts don't really match, or did not really match, with the configuration, the spiritual, social, and cultural configuration of China at the time. So this opens up a whole new question, which is a question of the mismatch between the categories of religion, science, the non-religious, the secular, and so on, the mismatch of categories between the Western origin of these categories and the Chinese cultural, cultural history and situation. The third question became, as China advanced into the middle of the 20th century, the question of the loyalty of religious communities to the socialist regime. And then the fourth question, as we entered the 1980s and so on, is the mismatch between religious affiliations and communities and the boundaries of the nation state. So as China constructs itself, or has over the 20th century constructed itself as a nation state, an ideal nation state is one where there's one language, one religion, all sharing the same boundaries. And yet the religion in China is one in which different religions, there is hardly any religion that exists only within China. Even traditional popular religion is infused with transnational networks, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity are transnational religious identities and communities. So this has opened up yet another question in China, which is the mismatch between transnational religious identifications and the nation state. And this leads us to the final dimension, the fifth dimension of the religious question, which is really the religious question for the whole world today. As we enter, as Professor Casanova has been talking about, a new era of the post-axial age, a new era in which our whole understanding of the religious and the secular are being redefined. So what is the role of religion in an emerging global society of which China is a part, and in which China is playing an ever greater role, and in which Chinese religions themselves will undoubtedly play an ever greater role?